We finally have what I assume is all of the trailers we're going to get for Doctor Who Season 2, so let's break them all down. Okay, so we've recently had a couple of TV spot trailers for Doctor Who, as well as the official Disney Plus version of the trailer that we previously got in German, now translated in English and officially released instead of accidentally released. So this video is going to consist of compiling all the previous trailer breakdowns that I've made for this season into one video, with a few additions now that we know some other details about the episodes, such as the titles and some details from future trailers. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'm also going to be breaking down those TV spots and the Disney Plus version of the trailer. So without further ado, let's get into these trailers, starting with the teaser trailer we got at the end of Joy to the World.
There are forces beyond this universe, so look into them.
So we start with a brief shot of the Doctor in the TARDIS, where things seem to be going a little bit weird. Now this could be just for one episode in particular, but I'm thinking it's the possibility, or I at least hope, that this is going to be some sort of running through line for the season as a whole, with the TARDIS kind of not working properly. And based on something that Belinda Chandra, Virada Sethu's character, says later on in the trailer, it seems like maybe she doesn't want to be there, and that the Doctor's just struggling to return her home because of whatever's going wrong with the TARDIS, which we see in this opening shot. It now seems that from an official synopsis and from the new full-length trailer that we've got, that this is going to be a running through line throughout the whole season. It's basically going to be the overarching plot for the whole of Doctor Who Season 2, and not just for one episode, which I'm very happy about. So the synopsis for Doctor Who Season 2 that we've got from Disney Plus reads: The Doctor meets Belinda Chandra and begins an epic quest to get her back to Earth, but a mysterious force is stopping their return, and the time-travelling TARDIS team must face great dangers, bigger enemies, and wider terrors than ever before. And over this, the Doctor says, there are forces beyond this universe, it's all a game to them, which to me suggests it could be referring to another member of the pantheon of gods. Obviously there's been speculation that Mrs. Flood could be a part of this pantheon. We also have a cartoon character that comes in later in this trailer that could also be part of the pantheon of gods as well, so I feel like that's probably what this is referring to, and I assume it's building to possibly another member of the pantheon being kind of the big bad in the finale of this season. So this is one of the most talked about shots of this teaser trailer. As to a lot of people, this looks like it could be Skaro, and those ships flying around do look very similar to the Dalek ships. I don't know how likely it is that the Daleks will return in this season, so this could just be some other alien planet, and these ships just could be some generic alien spaceship. But it does look very similar to Skaro, at least maybe a redesign of Skaro for the new era, and the ships do look very similar to Dalek saucers, even if this planet maybe isn't Skaro. I'm now fairly certain from the new full-length trailer we've got for Doctor Who Season 2 that this planet probably isn't Skaro or Gallifrey, and is likely a brand new planet, which I'll get more into later on in this video when we get to the full-length trailer. We then get a shot of Belinda Chandra, played by Virada Sethu. This is going to be the new companion for Doctor Who Season 2. We are obviously going to get the return of Millie Gibson as Ruby Sunday as well at some point in the season, but I believe she's more going to be playing a role similar to Martha Jones in Series 4, where she kind of shows up for an episode or two in the middle of the season and then maybe returns with Unit again in the finale, which I'll talk about later on in this trailer. But obviously this is the new companion, Belinda Chandra. We do know from Doctor Who Unleashed that she does seem to be similar to Martha Jones as well, in that she seems to be working at a hospital, which at first I thought was the Royal Hope Hospital again, because I thought I could see the logo for that in the brief tease we got in Doctor Who Unleashed, but I think it is actually a different logo and a different hospital than Royal Hope, which we also saw at the end of Joy to the World. So I believe this shot could be from inside the hospital, but it could also be from inside maybe her house or something like that, her flat. But I'm assuming this is possibly from episode 1, which seems to be the episode with these robots in it as well, which I'll talk about later on. But from what we can tell, episode 1 seems to be meeting Belinda, and also there's going to be these robots in it. So here we get another shot of Mrs. Flood, who's obviously been a recurring character throughout this new era. This looks like it's likely going to be from what we think is episode 2 of the season. We've now since got another look at Mrs. Flood in this same location from the new full-length trailer, which does suggest that this is actually going to be from the Eurovision episode, episode 6, which we now know is called the Interstellar Song Contest. As you can actually tell that she's sat in the same place, and that person next to her is an alien, which I'll talk about later on in this video. But we do know that Mrs. Flood is going to be showing up in episode 2 from set filming and stuff like that, but this shot seems to be from episode 6 instead.
Doctor, you need to get me home. This might be the long way round.
So these are the robots that I was talking about earlier, once again with Belinda in it, which we believe is going to be the opening episode of the season. It seems like they seem to be in some sort of garden in this shot, so this could be Belinda Chandra's garden, and maybe that shot before of Belinda was her looking out of her window into her garden or something like that. Obviously, we now know this is going to be from episode 1, now titled The Robot Revolution, and it seems like Belinda is going to be abducted by these robots from her own back garden. We then see a shot of what I believe is the Doctor and Belinda Chandra falling from some sort of spaceship, followed by a shot of what seems to be at a similar point in possibly the same episode. In this shot, I did think they were also just falling in space, but if you look at the top of the shot, you can actually see that they do seem to be underwater in this particular shot, so there seems to be maybe some sort of underwater base that they're trying to get to. Obviously, we now know this is from episode 3, titled The Well, and this is probably them entering the titular well of this episode. So here we have another shot of the TARDIS acting up, this time with the Doctor and Belinda in it, with Belinda Chandra saying, "Doctor, you need to get me home," which this kind of also backs up what I was saying earlier on at the start of this trailer, where there seems to be some sort of through line throughout this series where the TARDIS isn't working properly, is maybe being controlled by some sort of external force, and Belinda just wants the Doctor to get her home, which I'm hoping is going to be kind of a running theme throughout the whole season, because obviously last season we had Ruby Sunday, who willingly joined the Doctor in his adventures and was actually happy to be there, and there was kind of no conflicts between them. Whereas if this is what I think it's going to be, where Belinda doesn't really want to be there, but she can't get home, or the Doctor can't get her home throughout the whole season, it means there's going to be a bit more conflicts between the Doctor and companion in this season, which I'm excited for if that does turn out to be the case. Although this could just be for one episode for all we know, but I believe this is going to be possibly a through line throughout the season, and I do hope it is. But let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. And this is backed up even more by the Doctor saying this might be the long way round.
But the games are deadly.
Here we see a shot of Ruby Sunday in unit, so I'm assuming this is probably going to be for the finale, but it could be for the one episode or 2 episodes that we get in the middle of the season where Ruby is meant to be returning for a bit. But like I said earlier, I think she's going to return for a story or 2 in the middle of the season, and then she's going to be part of unit in the finale, but we'll see about that. Obviously, we now know this is definitely going to be the case. Episode 4, Lucky Day, is going to be focused on Ruby and unit, and she's going to return once again with unit in the finale. We also obviously see Kate Stewart behind her, which isn't a surprise when we're in unit, and we also see Shirley Ann Bingham in the background as well, which is nice because she was originally meant to be in season 1 as far as I know, but Ruth Madeley had some sort of conflict, I think, at the time. She was filming something else or something like that, I think, and so that's why we ended up having Lenny Rush as Morris instead. But it's nice to see her returning from the 60th anniversary specials because I think she was a really good character as part of the unit team. But maybe we'll also get Morris as well, but I assume she's just kind of coming back and we're going to have her instead of Morris for a bit, and maybe they'll kind of switch season to season which one is being used depending on like the actor's availability and stuff like that. And carrying on with the quote that we had from the start of the trailer, the Doctor is saying, "But the games are deadly," which to me suggests once again something from the Pantheon of Gods. It does almost sound kind of toy makery, but I don't think we're going to get a toy maker return in this season, especially with him being played last by Neil Patrick Harris. It's very unlikely that he's going to be available for an actual season of Doctor Who. To me, the 60th anniversary specials seem more like a one-off for him, but I suppose they did have him stored away in unit, so it's definitely possible that we could get a toy maker return, but I personally don't see that happening. I think it's going to be someone else from the Pantheon of Gods. Here we get a look at the cartoon character, which I mentioned before. So this story, from what we can tell from like filming and stuff, seems to take place in the 50s. You can also tell from the way people are dressed and stuff like that, and I believe it's taking place in Miami, or at least somewhere in America. Obviously, we now know this is definitely going to be episode 2, Lux, and it is definitely going to be set in the 50s, specifically 1952, and it is definitely going to be set in Miami. We also get this, what seems to be some sort of diner or cafe or something like that, that seems to be floating through kind of space or something like that. We now know this seems to be from episode 5, which is a Newer Elms episode, and this building that they're in seems to be some sort of barbershop that appears to be on the back of this large spider-like creature that we can see in the full trailer, in some sort of void or something like that with a load of webs around it, which I'll get into more depth in when we get to the full-length trailer. We see a shot of the TARDIS flying, and then we see a shot of these robots that we think once again are going to be from episode 1 moving the TARDIS in some sort of spaceship by the looks of things, or maybe it's the inside of a building from that city that we see that looks very similar to Skaro from the start of the trailer, which could lend more credence to the idea that this isn't Skaro and it isn't a Dalek's return. It could just be the robot's home planet or something like that. We see another shot of Belinda Chandra with some sort of kind of bright light and energy or something coming towards her face. I'm not 100% sure what this could be about. We see the Doctor flying through this big open space, possibly on some sort of spaceship or in space or something like that, which I think could be related to where we see that kind of built-in diner kind of cafe area floating through as well. This could be from that episode, but from the new full-length trailer that we've got, it appears to be from the Eurovision Interstellar Song Contest episode instead, judging by his outfit and some of the other shots that we get for that episode in the new trailer.
There are forces beyond this universe. We think we are so clever. But we're like children.
So we start with an opening shot of some shots that we've seen before of Belinda Chandra waking up in what seems to be her bedroom at home and looking out the window, where we seem to see this spaceship, which is a very classic looking sci-fi spaceship. Now when I first saw this trailer, I did think it seems like the spaceship might be kind of taking her away, and if we see the Disney Plus version of the trailer, we actually see the robots breaking into her house in some very similar imagery, at least for me, of the Star Beast when the Wrath Warriors are breaking into Donna's house or the Noble's house. So it does seem like these robots are, for whatever reason, going to kidnap Belinda Chandra, and I believe in the last trailer we also see them kind of teleporting her from a garden, so I'm assuming they're going to teleport her into their ship and then take her away for whatever reason. Obviously we now know from the title reveal for the Robot Revolution that it seems to be that they're kidnapping her for some reason because the planet is named Planet Belinda. Either that or the planet gets named after Belinda after the episode, but we can see in that title reveal the words Planet Belinda. We then see from what seems to be from the same episode what I think is the inside of one of the buildings in that city that we saw in the previous trailer that some people thought might have looked like Skaro or Gallifrey. It now seems like that's definitely not going to be the case. It's going to be wherever either these robots are from or these people that are in this building are from. We then see the inside of what looks like some sort of spaceship, or maybe it's another building on some other planet, with people in these black suits putting on their helmets. One of these people I believe is Christopher Chung, who's been announced to be in the season and appears to be in this episode, and from what we can tell this seems to be episode 3, which we believe is Sharma Angel Warfall's episode, and it seems to be the same episode where we see them falling from the sky and going into the ocean, or what seems to be some sort of ocean, which we saw in the last trailer and I believe is also at some point in this trailer.
And when these vast creatures look down on us, our entire reality is in danger.
So what's your name?
Just the Doctor.
All right then. I'm called the nurse.
We then see this big spider creature which seems to be surrounded by webs, either in space or in some sort of kind of void area. I'm going to get more into this later when we get a better look of this creature later on in the trailer. But interestingly, it does seem to be mechanical and not kind of organic. We then see what appears to be Kate Stewart in some sort of containment unit or whatever in Unit. This is probably like in the basement of Unit. I think it's been mentioned before in like the 60th anniversary specials, or maybe it was in last season's finale, I'm not entirely sure. And there seems to be some creature at the window of one of these cells in this containment unit. Obviously we now know this seems to be from episode 4, Lucky Day, as that seems to be focused on some backlash surrounding Unit and what Unit are doing with containing aliens inside their basement jail, or the jail in Unit HQ. We then see the Doctor in this bowler hat and suit, which we've seen from filming, and I believe this is from the finale, and there definitely seemed to be some weird stuff going on when they were filming this episode. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it seemed like it was some sort of alternate reality, but I'm not 100% sure if that is the case now. But I remember the Doctor was acting a bit strange during the filming, but I'm not going to get too deep into that because I don't want to kind of spoil things or get into leak territory, and I also don't fully remember what it was all about, but we do believe this is from the finale. And they seem to be looking up at this big kind of skeletal dinosaur creature. I'm not 100% sure if this is a real dinosaur or if it's more like a skeletal kind of alien. Obviously the editing of this kind of leads us to believe that this is from the same episode and they're looking up at this, but this could be a different episode for all I know, but I believe this is also from the finale. We then see the same shot of something going on weird in the TARDIS that we got from the previous trailer. We see the return of Mel Bush, played by Bonnie Langford, as we see these kind of buildings kind of collapsing around her. It seems like something kind of reality breaking is potentially happening around her, so I'm assuming this is once again going to be something to do with the finale. We now know this is almost certainly something to do with the finale, with the title of the finale being The Reality War, and it having some similar visuals to this shot in the animated graphic that we have for The Reality War. We then get another moment that seems to be from episode 1 of probably not long after after the Doctor and Belinda have met each other as they're introducing each other, with the Doctor saying, "I'm the Doctor," and Belinda saying, "Alright then, I'm the nurse." So this is likely in that same city from that other planet, or maybe it's inside that spaceship that she gets kidnapped from. But we can also see what the Doctor is wearing in this is very similar to what those other people are wearing that are on that planet in that building that we see earlier on and in other shots from this episode. So I'm not sure whether he's like blending in or something like that to try and figure out what's going on with these robots, because it seems like he's wearing the same clothes as everybody else and not kind of wearing his own clothes for this episode, even though obviously he does wear different outfits pretty much every episode now.
There is something already connecting us.
I'm an ordained Anglican Marine.
This is a time machine.
Boom!
I am not one of your adventures.
You need to get me home.
This might be the long way round.
You're Scooby-Doo.
Honey, I'm Velma. You're meant to voyage out there and own it.
We're just popping in.
Girl, you are beginning to enjoy this.
Welcome to the Interstellar Song Contest!
Oh, we're so staying.
We're staying.
I love a good show.
We then see what seems to be Belinda Chandra first entering the TARDIS, where we get a little hint to her character somewhat being connected to the character that Varada Sethu played last season, Mundy Flynn, in the episode Boom. Although there seems to be a lot of attention drawn to this in this trailer, I do feel like there's probably not going to be much more of this in the actual season itself. It is probably just going to be this mention, but I could be wrong. I'm hoping it isn't too big of a mystery or something like that that takes over the whole season, because I don't know how satisfyingly that's going to end, especially with the reveals that we got in the finale last season. So I am just kind of hoping it's kind of what RTD has done in the past, where he just kind of has like a line or two to kind of mention why this actor is reappearing as a different character, and I do feel like that's probably what we're going to get, hopefully. We see the TARDIS seemingly chasing the spaceship that we saw earlier on in the trailer, which I believe Belinda Chandra is probably trapped in at this moment, and we see Belinda arriving in this city with these people wearing all these same clothes that seem like what the Doctor might have been wearing in other shots in this trailer. So this is assumedly after she's just been kidnapped by these robots and brought to this planet. We see the same shot from the last trailer where Belinda Chandra says to the Doctor, "You need to get me home," and the Doctor says this might be the long way round. We now know this is going to be a running through line throughout the whole season, as the Doctor and Belinda are trying to get back to Earth and something is stopping them, which is probably going to be related to the finale. We get a nice joke from what seems to be from episode 2, as this seems to be the 50s episode with the cartoon villain, which we now know is Mr. Ring-a-Ding, where Belinda Chandra says to the Doctor, "You're Scooby-Doo," and the Doctor says, "Honey, I'm Velma," which is a funny little joke and very in character for this Doctor. We then see that same spaceship and the Doctor and Belinda on that planet that we see that's from episode 1 where the robots are on. We see the Doctor and Belinda walking through this particular location, which we believe is from episode 5, which is a Newer Elms episode. From something we get later on in this trailer, I think this is probably somewhere in Africa, particularly Western Africa. It's possibly Nigeria, as I know that's where a Newer Elms is from, but I think from something later on that we get in this particular trailer that hints at what this episode could be about, it could also be Ghana, but I'll talk about that later on in this trailer. We see the Doctor and Belinda dressed in their 50s attire for episode 2, and we see those same shots that I mentioned earlier of them seem to be going in the ocean of a particular planet, which we believe is from episode 3. Here we see a shot from what we believe is episode 6, which we now know is called the Interstellar Song Contest, where we now have confirmation that it is Rylan who is going to be appearing in this episode, which was previously speculated by some people, or I guess kind of leaked. And this makes sense because Rylan is a well-known presenter in the UK. He started off being a contestant in the X Factor, but he is now well-known as a presenter, and I believe there's some rumours out there that he could have been cryogenically frozen and is playing himself in this episode. We see the Doctor and Belinda in this same location from the same episode, who seem very excited about this particular show, so they decide they're going to stay around. And we then see Mrs. Flood in this episode as well, saying, "I love a good show," as she's sat in the audience watching on. We had previously seen a similar shot in the last trailer, which I had speculated could either be this episode or episode 2, as we couldn't tell exactly where she was in that shot, and it looked like she could have been in the audience of the theatre in episode 2, but we can now tell this is the same location as the previous trailer, and it is actually from the Interstellar Song Contest, as in that last shot you can also see the same person sat next to her. But we do also know she is going to be appearing in episode 2 from set filming and stuff like that. She's been seen in that 50s Miami location.
So we're going to them.
I'm beaming at ya.
But the games are deadly.
Tell a story.
Aren't you scared? Why? Because it likes the taste.
I promised that I would keep you safe.
You can't.
I can. I I will. I do.
I will take you home.
That is a promise.
We see more of these army type people from episode 3, including Christopher Chung's character, as they seem to be entering some kind of abandoned kind of warehouse or factory or something like that. Obviously, I know some of this episode must have something to do with being underwater, but I don't believe that this in particular looks like it's underwater. We see these kind of stone faces that are moving. I'm not entirely sure which episode this could be from. It could also be from episode 3, but there's also the possibility that it could be something to do with episode 5, as these do look kind of similar to some kind of African masks. I'm not 100% sure on what those are or if those are definitely a thing, but I'm pretty sure that is kind of a thing in certain African cultures. But correct me if I'm wrong in the comments with that. We then see another shot of Mr. Ring-a-Ding. This time he's actually fully out of the screen and he's clearly walking in between the Doctor and Belinda, or is at least stood in front of Belinda in this particular shot in the real world. We see the same shot of Mr. Ring-a-Ding from the last one where he's exiting the screen. We did also see from the Disney Plus variation of this trailer a look at the Doctor and Belinda being turned into cartoon characters, which is obviously going to be part of this episode as well, and that looks very fun. I don't know if that's going to be a big part of the episode or just a brief scene, but that looks very fun as well, especially the animation style of both Mr. Ring-a-Ding and the Doctor and Belinda in those shots that we've seen. We then see this missing poster, which to me seems to be from episode 5 again, which is a Newer Elms episode, which, like I said earlier, I believe is going to be set in West Africa, particularly potentially Ghana, maybe Nigeria. So there seems to be some kind of mystery about missing people in this episode. And we see one of the characters from this episode holding a barbershop kind of razor or hair trimmer. I can't really think what they're exactly called right now, which seems to suggest that that building we see kind of floating through the void in that episode is probably a barbershop, which is actually seen in this next shot. We then see this kind of eerie monster in the dark in what could maybe be some sort of graveyard, but I'm not 100% sure. This seems to be from episode 4, which is the Ruby-centric episode, which I also believe I've heard is likely going to be a Doctor and Companion Light episode. It's mostly going to be following Ruby and Jonah Hauer-King's character and maybe Unit. And speaking of Jonah Hauer-King, we also get a shot of him in this trailer as well with a hand coming up behind his shoulder, which could be from that same monster. We then get another shot of this planet, which we now know is likely not Skaro or Gallifrey. It seems to be either where those people are from that are all wearing the same clothes, or where the robots are from and where they've taken them to. We see some people in what seems to be the city on that planet being blasted in a similar effect to the Daleks, but this does look different enough to not be the Daleks. But who knows, maybe we will get a Daleks return in this and they're facing off against these robots as well, I don't know. We see the TARDIS flying through this big open area, which appears to be the arena from the Interstellar Song Contest, with the Doctor seemingly in the same location, floating around in space outside of the TARDIS. We see some shots of what seems to be from the finale with the Doctor walking through some sort of force field type thing, and we see another shot from what seems to be episode 1 with the Doctor holding onto this big kind of glowing orb with an effect that looks similar to the teleport that we see in the first trailer when the robots are taking Belinda Chandra away, and the Doctor promising to Belinda that he'll keep her safe. And here we see a better look at this big spider-like creature that we got earlier on in the trailer. Now, I've seen speculation that this could be the Anansi, which from doing some brief research, as I didn't know about this before, is apparently from Akan or Akan folklore, and the word Anansi does translate to spider, and it's a trickster-like character that is one of the most important characters of West African and African American folklore. And the reason I said that this episode could take place in Ghana is, after my short bit of research on the Anansi, it does apparently originate from Ghana, so that's the reason why I feel like it could take place in Ghana, but I don't know too much in particular about this creature or this folklore character. But like I said, Newer Elms is also from Nigeria, so I don't know if this maybe has also some depictions in folklore in Nigeria as well, and it could take place there because then it means he's able to write about where he's from, but maybe he just wanted to write about African folklore in general. But this character is also associated with stories, wisdom, knowledge, and trickery. Obviously, there's been a lot of speculation that this season could have something to do with storytelling, and people think there's going to be maybe the god of stories involved in this season as part of the pantheon of gods. So that definitely could have something to do with this. I believe one of the characters earlier on in this trailer also tells the Doctor to tell a story, and we also see obviously the webs surrounding this big spider, which could have something to do with that as well, as maybe this creature kind of weaves stories in a web or something along those lines. But that's just me kind of spitballing some ideas based on somebody on Twitter pointing out that this could be the Anansi. So if you have any more ideas on what this could be about, let me know in the comments down below.
I am the last of the Time Lords. I'm from a different planet.
An evolved life form?
And I have waited for the day of your arrival. I'm the doctor.
Doctor what?
Just the doctor.
All right then. I'm called the nurse.
Good team.
You left Earth.
It's been 2 hours.
It was 6 months ago.
This should get you back.
It is bigger on the inside than the outside.
You need to get me home.
You don't need to rush, cause
This is a time machine.
Boom. 1952. 51st century.
The 803rd Interstellar Song Contest!
Oh, we're so staying.
We're staying.
What year is this?
2007.
Can't you get this box of yours fixed? Have you ever heard of the planet Earth?
Never heard of him.
My parents are back home. Are they safe?
I hope so.
what? Roll up.
Doctor, what's he doing?
I think we're being animated.
Gosh, I'm all flat. And this waistline is impossible.
I will not fail you. Everything is out of sync.
Our entire reality is in danger. I promised that I would keep you safe.
But you can't promise.
I can. I will. I do.
Obviously, we've now since had the release of the official Disney Plus version of the trailer, which we previously saw only in German when it was accidentally posted on the German Disney Plus channel. Now that we've got it in English, this gives us a few indications of some other things, such as Belinda thinking she's only been gone for 2 hours in the Robot Revolution when she'd actually been gone for 6 months. We also get a flashback to 2007, assumedly with Belinda thinking she's finally made it home to Earth, only to find out she's in the wrong time zone, where we also get a look at a child who people think might be Conrad Clark from episode 4 and the finale. We also get indications of something bad happening to Earth whilst Belinda is trying to get home, and her worrying about if her family is safe, and people not knowing what Earth is, as well as the Doctor trying to fix the TARDIS, assumedly to try and help get Belinda home. And we also have a shot of what we think is the Anansi, with seemingly its fate of it exploding, presumably at the end of the episode, which is a little bit of a spoiler, but it's hopefully not that big of a plotline in the actual episode itself. Let me know if there's anything in this full Disney Plus version of the trailer that I've missed in the comments down below, if you have any other theories that it leads to for any of the episodes in particular, as there's probably something I've missed because I'm not going too in-depth in this trailer because we've kind of seen it before.
Doctor, you need to get me home.
This might be the long way round. We are meant to voyage out there and own it.
We're just popping in.
Girl, you are beginning to enjoy this.
The new series of Doctor Who starts Saturday 12th of April on BBC One and iPlayer.
We've also got a couple of TV spots that were shown, I think, during Comic Relief. The first of which we seem to be travelling through a lot of different locations of the season, with some notable moments of this being the Doctor seeming to hold onto his ears to block out some sound on what seems to be the Interstellar Song Contest episode. And we also see a calendar flying through space, with emphasis on May Day, which we think is going to have something to do with the finale and particularly Conrad Clark. Let me know if there's anything in this TV spot that I might have missed.
Doctor, you need to get me home.
This might be the long way round.
I am not one of your adventures.
We are meant to voyage out there and own it.
Oh, we're so staying.
We're staying. There are forces beyond this universe. Our entire reality is in danger. I promised that I would keep you safe.
But you can't.
I can. I do. I will take you home.
The new series of Doctor Who starts Saturday 12th of April on BBC One and iPlayer.
And we also have a second TV spot, which as far as I can tell doesn't show us that much new than what we've seen before. It's more just a very shortened down version of the trailers that we've seen so far, but let me know if there's anything in this trailer that's significant that I might have missed. And that's all of the trailers that we've had for Doctor Who Season 2 so far, and I'm assuming all of the trailers that we're probably going to have for Doctor Who Season 2. Like I said, let me know if there's anything I've missed in any of these trailers, any key details that you might have spotted, and any theories you might have surrounding these trailers. And obviously, recently we've had the titles for Doctor Who Season 2, the episode titles, announced officially, and I've made a whole video on that, which I'm going to have on screen now if you want to watch that.